Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And today we're going to do our annual safe players list. We do this list every year. We've been doing it for, how many years have we been doing this thing? 6 years now. We'll come up with players that we just think are really safe picks this year. Maybe they're not the absolute top, but they could be. It's just guys that we're confident in, that there's a lot less variables in what they're doing, and they just should be good, safe players to have on your team that you know are going to produce in fantasy football for you. So let's jump into this. We'll start at quarterback. Jeff, you got any quarterbacks that you feel are just safe for 2022? You should feel confident drafting.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's really only one in my mind, and this is comparative to where you have to draft him to, but I think Pat Mahomes is incredibly safe. I don't think anyone will argue with me. He is, from a few years ago when his price tag was way too high, which maybe you're thinking that's more of a Josh Allen thing now, even though he'll probably produce. But I think you get him at a reasonable price, and I think that people's perception of him, because they lost Tyreek Hill, and he hasn't been number one in the last couple of years, but he'll be a top 5 quarterback, and he has enough around him in order to do it. They're not going to all of a sudden turn into an only run team. So I think you can expect very similar numbers. I think he's going to be a top 5 QB, and you don't have to reach for him. You draft him exactly where he should be. So I think he's maybe not the greatest deal, but I do think that he's incredibly safe.
Yeah, people. It's like, they don't care about Mahomes as much anymore. I think he's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, even to the point where he's actually number 3 at the moment, even behind Herbert. And that I don't have any issue with it. But once again, like if you gave me the option between the two, I'd probably go Mahomes still. And I do think that Josh Allen is on that tier on his own. So, yeah.
So I'll throw out a name a little bit further down that I just feel is actually, especially relative to where he's going, this feels safe. And I'm going to go with Stafford. He's right now the 11th ranked quarterback. I just think we know what we have in him. We know what the team is. Because if you look at players around him, like Rodgers, we don't quite know about his receiver situation. Russell Wilson, we like him, but he's in a new situation. Dak lost, his what was his top receiver before. He still should be decent. But Tom Brady, a lot of, injuries there. No Chris Godwin for a bit. No Gronk, no Antonio Brown. You look at a lot of those guys in that range, and then even right after Stafford a little bit, like we said, Rodgers, Trey Lance is 2 spots after him. Derek Carr, I don't want to put Derek Carr in the safe range. I might like him. But Stafford at 11, you just kind of know what you're getting. He has his top receiver. He still has Cooper Kupp. He added Allen Robinson. He was 6th last year. Maybe he's not 6th. But I think Stafford is just a guaranteed top 10 guy. Maybe it's the 6 through 10 range, but I don't think – and he's been, early in his career, he might have been more injury prone, and he did have that 2019 where he was injured a bit, but part of it was the Lions just decided not to bring him back that year. I think he's safe here. At 11, you're getting what should be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree. I like that one a lot because you know exactly what you're getting. Like when you say, hey, he's not going to be a top 5 guy. 6 through 10.
It's not going to get somewhere in there. But
yeah, but you're going to, and if he's out of the top 10, you're going to get him for on the cheap too. So
he's
you
right
can
now
kind
11th.
of safeguard yourself and say, I'll get a pretty decent QB. I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to put money towards there.
Yep, I think he's the least question marks of the guys in his range. So let's go running back here. What do you got at running back?
The first one I'm going to do, he doesn't blow my socks off, but he's incredibly safe, and that's going to be Najee Harris. Look, he is the running back there. They're going to have either a rookie QB or you're going to have Trubisky. They have some talent at wide receiver, so it should be enough that it doesn't absolutely, crater the offensive line that they can just plug the hole every time. But he's also a bruiser. He doesn't need a lot of space. He can grind out 3 yards of carry, which would not be good, but at the same time, that would be fine for Pittsburgh. And that's how they use him, so it doesn't matter. And also last year, he was able to actually get quite a few catches as well, I believe, which only kind of, he had 74 receptions, which kind of gets swept under the rug because they just use him so much. And he had 307 rushes. I don't expect him probably to hit over 300 again. But once again, I mean, what was his production? Yards per average was 3.9. Not bad.
Yeah.
You just know, I mean, that is just a good, decent output. And they're going to keep giving him the ball. And he's very young. He should be durable. He's a big guy. So there's no red flags as far as, you're taking a giant risk. Do I think that he's going to vault himself up in kind of like the number one tier territory? I don't, but I think that as long as he stays healthy, like last year, I think he ended up as probably was it fourth or fifth? But that's mostly because he didn't miss time. He's young. He has fresh legs, and they gave him a crap ton of carries. So I think for the next 2 years or so, he's the kind of guy that you can plug and play, and you're going to love it. And then after that, maybe you start worrying about wear and tear because that's how they're using him. But, second year, dude, use him all day. So I think he's very, very safe.
He was definitely one of the players I considered for this. I didn't end up picking him, but yeah, he's a perfect candidate. It's not even like, I don't know how good he is. I think he's fine, but he should get a lot of carries. And I think there's going to be like, for us, it's more like I think he's safe. You're going to get some production out of him, but I still think he could definitely, he might disappoint people. And not going to disappoint us because I think we know what he is. I think there are going to be some people disappointed in what they get from him because his ADP has moved up to 5th right now on what Fantasy Pros is showing.
Oh, really?
And on ESPN, he is 5th in ESPN ADP at running back. So
that does
we
sense,
understand what we're getting
because,
though. Like,
yeah, he's safe, and right
safe.
now he's ranked on Fantasy Pros as the 7th overall running back.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're getting. I think that's like even value. Yeah. And he does have less question marks than, say, a Delvin Cook who has had injuries in the past, or honestly, in a weird way, I almost kind of trust him a little more in Joe Mixon even. And Nick Chubb, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, those are the guys like right above and below him. So in that case, if you're not talking about the top 4 guys, I do think Najee Harris is very safe for that tier 2, tier 3 kind of guy.
So I'm going to throw out, actually, you just said his name, but I think this is a safe pick. I think Nick Chubb is a relatively safe pick. And it's going to look, so right now, it all depends, I guess, too, where you're looking. So Fantasy Pros, the experts rank him 8th, right? Fantasy Pros shows his ADP as 10, but let's go to ESPN, which now has ADP out. And ESPN's where most of these drafts are, right? Nick Chubb, Jeff, RB 14.
Really? Why? I actually don't know why he's falling so much. Is it because of the QB drama?
I think it's
everyone just sick of Cleveland?
Yeah, it's some of the QB, and it's like, oh, Kareem Hunt. Well, we've been dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean,
Nick Chubb's going to get, like, if he gets to almost about 200 carries, he's fine. Like, his year 1, he had 192. He's not going to get to 2019 numbers of 298 carries. We know that. We're not expecting that. He had 190 carries in 12 games in 2020, and then in 14 games last year, he had 228 in 14 games. I'm telling you, all we need from Nick Chubb is 200. He's going to get 200. He has never been below 5 yards per carry in his career in a season, and he's never had less than 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, and they've talked about this ad nauseum of, like, how can Hunt and Chubb be productive on the field, and we've already seen it. Like, absolutely, they can. And when Chubb or more Hunt. But when Hunt has been healthy, that has not affected Chubb to that extent. Maybe it does cap him. But once again, like, Chubb is, honestly, I think he's a more athletic version of Najee Harris in a way. He is a very aggressive runner. So you don't want him to get 300 carries because he will eventually hurt himself. Right. So I agree with you on that one. And I also, like, with everything going down with the QB, it actually almost bolstered me to say the run game has to be the focal point of that offense, because we don't know if Watson's going to be there or not. That is going to be night and day when they have him on the field and when they don't, because we don't know who their backup quarterback necessarily is going to be. So I think they have to rally around that run game, which they absolutely can. And I think that Chubb is in line for another really good year.
Yeah, no, so he's making all my lists, if people have noticed, my undervalued list, my favorite player list, now the safe player list. I just love Nick Chubb. Okay, if Nick Chubb was being ranked 5th, I'd be like, it's funny how that all changes for me, right? But Nick Chubb as running back 14 on ESPN, that puts him, so running back 14, let me see what he is overall here. Let me pull this up. I'm curious if he's going in the 3rd round. So 3rd round in the 12-teamer would be after pick 24. He's picked 27. He's going in the 3rd round in ESPN drafts. My God, give me Nick Chubb all day long in a snake draft in the 3rd round.
I mean, all day. That'd be great if you could get him in the 3rd round because that'd be wonderful.
All day. I will take that all day. You could have the 1st pick and get Jonathan Taylor, turn around at the end of the 2nd and get, I don't know.
I mean, name another one.
Anybody. You get 3 running backs. You get
you can go wide receiver.
You could go Jonathan Taylor. You could go complete running backs and go Jonathan Taylor, go get Nick Chubb, get Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can do any of those, but yeah, that'd be wonderful to be able to get him in the 3rd, or you take a top 5 wide receiver, top 10, and have a well-rounded team.
All right, you got any other running backs here you're looking at?
Not really. I was gonna say,
either. To be honest, I don't feel good.
No, they have either an injury riddled past. They have an offense that is a little up and down. So even though I think overall they'll do fine, but I think they'll be up and down all season. Or on top of that, they're just ranked really high, and that it's nothing safe about that because running back can get hurt.
I'm with you. Actually, Najee and Chubb were the only ones that were really stood out to me. There's just too many question marks elsewhere. Like even right after them, like Swift, the guy hasn't been able to put together a healthy season. Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon is breathing down his neck. He's there. Javonte Williams, we haven't seen it yet. Leonard Fournette's apparently fat. I don't know.
I've missed that actually. We haven't heard about a fat running back in a while. I'm glad that Fournette's bringing it back.
I love it.
I was going to say that's actually makes me laugh. But the only one that I would say is safe. I didn't want to put him on here, but I do think Jonathan Taylor. But that's why you're paying the premium on him. He's going to be the highest paid player in fantasy, if you want to call it that. And honestly, all the other 3. Like Eckler actually is, I would say him and Eckler, fine. There might be one and 2, 1 and 3.
I feel decent about,
Yeah, they're both safe, but I mean, the other 2 that are up there, Henry and McCaffrey, have just injury written all over them, even though I would definitely take them. But yeah, I mean, definitely not safe.
Yeah. All right, let's go over to wide receiver. Who do you got here?
I have a few here. I'll start high and then go low, but the first one on my list, and I can't believe this because I was trying to crap on this guy last year, but I actually do think that Mike Evans feels like he's relatively safe this year. Godwin is going to be coming up. Are you okay?
I'm with you. Yeah.
He's going to be hurt to begin with. Mike Evans doesn't, he's a double-digit TD threat every single year. The last 2 years with Brady, he's done it. Even if he regresses down to 8 touchdowns, which would be low for him, he's still, that's great. And he'll probably catch around 1,000 yards. I don't expect him to go wild. But if you're talking about the bottom end of the top 10 and his setup with Brady coming back, there's not a whole lot of downside besides for you thinking he's getting older, but he didn't look older last year to me. So I'm thinking that he has 1 or 2 more years left in him, and he's a bigger bodied wide receiver. So until those injuries start racking up, it's not like his speed is decreasing and he can't get away from people. Just lob it up to him. He'll catch a bunch of touchdowns. He should be good.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, he's the guy there. So they need to throw him the ball. And I think he's going to get thrown the ball and he's going to be safe. And you're going to feel pretty good about Mike Evans there. All right. So Jeff, I'm curious to see how you're going to feel about this one. Jeez, I'm looking at this. Mike Williams is ranked 14th. Man, that's wrong.
Well, you're not going to say Mike Williams, are you?
No, I'm saying Mike Williams had 5 good games in his whole career.
I was like that's out in a
I just saw that and I'm like, man, this guy literally has five good games in his career, and we're ranking him like that. But
no, 100%. I mean, actually
that's where I was going. Just like
have a whole
threw me off.
Who's overrated?
So Jeff, I'm putting DJ Moore on this list.
No, you're not. So I mean, okay. Let me hear the argument.
I think he can get overrated at times where people really want him to be something. Maybe he doesn't get the touchdowns, right? But over his career, the last 3 years, he's finished wide receiver 18, wide receiver 17, wide receiver 21. He's currently ADP wise, he's going at I think he's going at 16 right now. So he's really close to where he's finished his career in. So he's ranked 15th, but his ADP is 16. So over his career, last year he had 93 catches for 1,100 yards. The year before it was only 66, but he had 1,100 yards. The year before, 87 catches, 1,100 yards. So I really think you know what you're getting in DJ Moore. You're getting unless the touchdowns pick up, you're getting a running back or wide receiver who's going to finish 15th to 20th. And you're drafting him 15th to 20th, and you're going to get a 15th to 20th wide receiver. And it just seems to be he's really consistent in that level. If he ever gets the touchdowns going, it'll be a lot better. I don't know if that's going to happen with Baker Mayfield, but I think you're getting a very consistent. He's done it with multiple quarterbacks too. That's part of it. It's been different quarterbacks there, and he's been able to do it with Darnold last year and Bridgewater the year before. And I can't even I don't remember who his quarterback was in 2019. Now was it Cam?
I feel like there's one more guy in there. Anyway, I'm not going to come up.
But he's
with
done it. The point is, done it with multiple quarterbacks. So, it was Kyle Allen. Cam only played 2 games.
Yep.
So Kyle Allen. So he's done it with multiple players. So you're drafting him 15th to 20th. You're going to get a 15th to 20th ranked wide receiver. So you're getting a nice safe guy.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. I think you're correct on that one. I'm usually DJ Moore kind of denier, not because of once again, he's a guy that just got trapped in a bad team for probably his whole career. Yeah. But looking at his numbers, you're absolutely correct. The TDs could go up. I mean, we've seen other flukier things happen. Maybe Baker is a step up from these other guys. You have McCaffrey will be healthy. Maybe they'll lend itself. I mean, he's played with him and he's pretty much like locked in on 4 touchdowns scored. But I don't mind that one actually. And last year it is actually pretty crazy that he hasn't cracked like the top 10, because last year he had 163 targets, which is pretty up there. So, they give him all the opportunity in the world. If the quarterback play increases, gets a little bit better, then I would be, eating my words. So I actually agree with you on that one.
Got yourself another wide receiver here?
Of course I do. I think the next one that I want to mention, I'm not as high on him this year. Like, I think that he'll be good and he's incredibly safe. He's rated as the 12th overall wide receiver currently. That's Keenan Allen.
Seems like this is like the Keenan Allen list. He's like the first player to think of, right?
Like he always gets a ton of targets. He works those intermediate routes. He's not a huge touchdown guy either, but it doesn't matter. He gets a ton of targets. He's been able to stay relatively healthy all his career. Herbert is there. That offense is really taken off. Even though Mike Williams keeps creeping up this list, Keenan Allen's production probably won't take a hit. And once again, if for whatever reason he has a couple of fluky touchdowns, that number gets inflated even. But I think he is a lot like what you were talking about with DJ Moore, only, he's scored more than DJ Moore because he's been on a better team. So, he's a mechanic in the middle of the field. He's great. So
I'm sure
I think he's in a good position to have another really solid year.
I'm sure he's made this list like every year.
So I think he has. I think maybe not the year after he was hurt.
I signed off on Keenan Allen on this. So I had one more receiver I want to throw out there.
Sure.
Which I think I feel like he probably always gets overlooked. And part of it is his team, and he bounces around the league. But Brandin Cooks, he's currently ADP 25th, wide receiver 25. So Brandin Cooks, over his career, he's really only had 2 bad seasons. He's played, 8 seasons. He's had his rookie year, right? Let's throw that out. But so in those 7 years since then, 6 of them have been pretty solid. And he's last year, 90 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns. The year before, 81 catches, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had a poor year with the Rams, only 42 catches for 583 yards and 2 touchdowns. The year before that, though, 80 for 1,205. The year before that, 65 for 1,007, 78 for 1,108, 84 for 1,109. He's just consistent there. His final ranks have been wide receiver 20, wide receiver 16. That one year where he played 14 games, wide receiver 61. Let's throw that out. But throw that out and go wide receiver 20, wide receiver 16, wide receiver 13, wide receiver 7, wide receiver 8, wide receiver 12. And you're getting him right now drafted at wide receiver 25. and it's part of it's the team,
Yeah,
right? You think the Texans, you think it's terrible, but Davis Mills wasn't like a disaster. he was okay.
And look what Cooks did with him last year. I mean, 134 targets, 90 receptions, 1,000 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Like, those are better numbers than, it's like DJ Moore, and you're getting him at, 10 spots lower. So,
yeah, I think Brandin Cooks at wide receiver 25, which is currently where his ADP is, that's really solid because the other guys around him, again, are Darnell Mooney, which we'll see. Amari Cooper's 2 spots ahead of him, which we don't know what that situation is going to be. Chris Godwin is 3 spots ahead of him yet, and we don't know when he's going to start playing. Cortland Sutton is 1 spot behind him, which we love Cortland Sutton in a way, but there's no safety there. That's all speculation and hoping that the talent wins out.
Oh,
so yeah, Brandin Cooks, we know what and right after that, it's Gabe Davis, Elijah Moore, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas. It's all guys that there's major question marks. So like Gabe Davis is the guy we're hoping takes the next step. Brandin Cooks, we know what he is. If you're drafting him as this is wide receiver 3 territory, that's an awesome wide receiver 3, an awesome, safe, plug and play wide receiver 3 every week.
Yeah. I think the thing that people get hung up on, and myself included, is, how much upside is there? Like, you're getting a really safe guy, but is he going to add more than that, like more than the floor? And look, do I love to have him on my team? But I think he's a great. I have a harder time taking him in snake because I could be grabbing someone else as upside. But in an auction, when I know that this value is going to be relatively low, I love to grab him. So I have him as like my, 4th wide receiver, and I'm just set. So it is a little bit different between auction and snake for me, but I agree with you. Like, he has been incredibly productive, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit to watch him bounce around so much. And I don't know why, because everywhere he's been productive, you never hear anything bad about the guy. And besides for the concussion year that he kind of had, I thought he was going to be a saint for like his whole life, and he became kind of a journeyman in a weird way. I don't know why. He just puts
up the numbers, except that 1 year, which that's it. But other than that, when he's been healthy and played full seasons, he's been good. He's a top 20 receiver every time. So, yeah. All right. Any more receivers? Yeah,
I have one more, and you actually mentioned him, and it's a weird one, but I actually do. I feel very safe with Darnell Mooney this year.
So I'm going to say that, like, I think when I said his name, I think you're right. Like, I don't know. Again, he might not have. I don't know what level he can go to, but he is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. There is no one else. Like, I even came around when we were talking about like other interesting guys. I actually got on the whole Velus Jones thing because there's no one else there, and anyone that is kind of like athletic enough to get open, they're going to have to throw it to him. They try to improve that team. Fields absolutely has to do better this year, and a lot of that is like not running for his life. Look, what did Darnell Mooney right now is ranked as the 26th wide receiver, and that's Fantasy Pros. I don't know what his ADP is currently, but he was able to pull off last year, which is only his 2nd year in the league, 140 targets, 81 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Right. Once again, we're in this DJ Moore kind of situation, but he does have a lot of upside because you do think that offense has to get a little bit better at least. And Fields is already incredibly comfortable with him, and there's nowhere else to throw the ball. Allen Robinson is gone, and for whatever reason, they could not get him the ball last year. So maybe the only thing that if I was trying to like come up with a reason is like they just shut down wide receiver 1, and they just let him run wild. Does make a lot of sense though. He's a good wide receiver. Everyone can see it. And even last year on that terrible Chicago team, he was 22nd overall. You're getting him below that. I just think that he's incredibly safe to get. I think that there's a lot of upside on him too. I really like, he's a great young wide receiver. I think that he'll be just fine.
And he got 80 balls, 1,000 yards with Justin Fields as a rookie. Justin Fields last year.
Yes. And when Justin Fields had no help, like he was running for his life, and Allen Robinson could not, like, I don't know what happened in that whole thing was strange to me, but yeah, I feel very, very safe with Darnell Mooney in a weird way.
I like it. I think it's a pretty solid pick. All right. Tight ends. Finish it off.
Yeah. Do you have any tight ends? Because
no, I don't.
The only one I feel really safe with is Mark Andrews.
It's funny enough. That's the only thing I was going to say. I mean, Kelsey probably, but
yeah. I like Kelsey,
but maybe Kelsey not in regards to where you're having to draft him necessarily. Where that's I'm more comfortable with Mark Andrews, but like after that, Kyle Pitts is third right now, and there's no safety there. This is just you're hoping that the talent wins out. And Kittle was hurt most of last year, didn't really do it. There's not much safety here at all.
No,
I mean,
and honestly,
maybe Dallas Goedert.
I mean, even that one, and I love Goddard, but it hurts, scares the crap out of me with AJ Brown there. I'm like, is it going to squeeze the amount of attempts they even try, like targets to go to him? The only other one that I kind of feel safe about, even though he inspires not a lot of like joy out of me, but maybe Dalton Schultz. I think that he'll be relatively safe. He was the 6th tight end, so you're paying probably nothing for him. And, you know, they don't really have that wide receiver number 2 lockdown. So after CeeDee Lamb, I do think that he'll get a lot of looks in the red zone. So I think that his production will probably be pretty safe. I don't know what that looks like as far as upside, but yeah, I think if I was drafting later, if he doesn't get too amped up, then yeah, I think he would probably be a guy that I'd be looking for because I feel good about him. But that's only because everyone else around him either once again hurt or has not done anything. I mean, tight end is a wasteland once again. I mean, it's crazy to say that number 10 Zach Ertz, you know, past his prime in Arizona, that has a million people to throw to. But even like Kyle Pitts as number 4, I like his athletic ability is undeniable, but I don't know what that's going to look like in Atlanta. Then Darren Waller, Schultz, Goddard, Hawkinson, Knox, Zach Ertz, and then it really falls off. Hunter Henry, Freiermuth,
right?
Like I don't feel good about almost any of them. So if you don't get, you know, a Kelsey Andrews, and even Kittle has been, you know, hampered by injuries, and I don't want to pay for the top 2. So no, I rock in a hard place.
It's a rough position. I don't have anything to throw up. So there we go. Safe players for 2022. So some of those guys I do feel pretty good about. There's some values in there, I believe, as well.
Without a doubt.
So, all right, there we go. That'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.